The European Union announced today that it's reopening its borders to travellers from 14 countries, meaning that people from those nations will be allowed to travel inside the visa-free Schengen zone. This follows the closure of borders across the continent in light of the COVID-19 pandemic. While non-EU citizens who already live in Europe are not affected by the ban. Well, let's get more now from France 24's Dave Keating, who joins us from Brussels. Dave, let's just start by talking about who's on the list and who isn't.
Well, basically, every non-EU citizen has been banned since March. And what this decision today will do is grant an exemption to that to residents of 14 specific countries. Those are Australia, Canada, New Zealand, Japan, South Korea, Thailand, Algeria, Morocco, Tunisia, Serbia, Montenegro, Georgia, Rwanda, and Uruguay. China may also become the 15th country on that list if it reciprocates by allowing EU citizens into China. What's really noticeable here is who is not on the list: US citizens. We've known for some time that this was going to be happening, that they were going to slowly start relaxing this entry ban, but we could see what was going on in the United States, and it became increasingly clear there was no way they could include the United States on this list. It's meant to be for countries with a similar viral situation. Right now for the EU, that's 16 new cases per 100,000 people over the last 2 weeks. For the US, that number is 117. But they're waiting to see now what the kind of diplomatic reaction from the United States is going to be, because this is quite awkward for President Donald Trump. And that may be perhaps why this list that they agreed on today isn't that long. Last week, they were looking at a list of possibly 52 countries. They've whittled it down to 14, perhaps so as to avoid the offense caused to the countries not on the list.
Okay, just tell us a little bit more, Dave, about how this is going to work.
So again, this is residents of the countries. So in other words, an American citizen living in Australia could come, but an Australian living in the United States cannot. That's how it's supposed to work. Now, enforcing this is going to be up to each individual EU member state. And legally, the EU can't actually tell them who they can and can't let in externally under the current situations. But it is expected everyone will follow this, because they have to have some kind of common policy on this. Because don't forget, internally in the EU Schengen area, there are no borders. So if one country, let's say Poland, decided to start letting Americans in, those Americans could then go on to the rest of the EU without facing a passport check. So it's critical that all of the EU countries remain united on this, but they do still technically have the legal ability to deviate. And of course, the enforcement of this will be up to the individual countries. And so how exactly somebody proves residence might vary depending on the country they're going to. So I think anybody who is planning a trip to the United States and is a resident of one of those 14 countries should check with the country concerned about what type of proof they would need to bring, and also when this might be starting, because this isn't going to start, although these countries can start be let into EU countries from tomorrow, this may come later actually. It may be that some countries wait until September to let all these countries in. They don't have to start letting all these countries in right away. So people will want to check with the individual country they're going to whether or not their country has started to be allowed in yet, and what the requirements might be for proof of entry when they come.
Okay, thank you very much indeed for that update from Brussels. Dave Keating there. And that brings us up to date with the world news. Thanks for watching. Stay with us here on France 24.